Hey, hi, hello there. Welcome to the Cannabis Man podcast. Thanks for clicking on the show. I am your host, Don Kleppen, and I have another excellent interview for you this week. I'm speaking with a cannabis entrepreneur later in the show. She has some great products out there. Her goal with the business is to kind of liven up your smoke session. And I have gotten some of her products, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with them, and she's going to share her journey and what her goals are for the business throughout this interview. And got some other things to talk about. Obviously, the Illinois News Joint Wrap, where we're going to talk about some events coming up and some news headlines from around Illinois. And there's a story that I want to get to. Some recent information's come to light in terms of some federal arrests related to cannabis and kind of a disturbing trend that's been noted. I want to get to all of that and more on this 19th episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Here we go. Let's start the episode off with the Illinois News Joint Wrap. That's right, this is the segment of the show where I'm going to bring you some news headlines and some information about cannabis-related events coming up all around the state of Illinois, and it's all brought to you by the Illinois News Joint. IllinoisNewsJoint.com has all of this information and so much more, all related to anything you want to know about the cannabis scene in and around Illinois. And let's start with the final 3 licenses for cannabis dispensaries have been issued by the Illinois Department of Federal and Professional Regulation. After a year-long delay, Governor J.B. Pritzker and the IDFPR issued 3 more conditional adult use dispensing organization licenses to applicants who were selected in lotteries held last summer in 2021. These awardees join the 182 others put out in July and early August, so that means all 185 available licenses from the original round of licensees have now been issued. Oh yeah. Long time waiting for that. That's right. A well-earned round of applause from IDFPR and Governor Pritzker. Finally, long delayed, but a welcome announcement last week that said this historic milestone is the result of Illinois cannabis policy that puts equity at the forefront, prioritizing communities who were specifically targeted by the war on drugs. All businesses selected qualify as social equity applicants under the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. The list of today's awardees, along with the next steps for the conditional license period, are available on IDFPR's adult use cannabis webpage. Prairie State Hemp is hosting a Puff and Paint event that is running on September 10th, which is a Saturday, and it's scheduled to go from 6 to 9 p.m. Artist Paige Patrick will conduct the painting. Brushes, canvas, and Prairie State Hemp goodies are included with admission. Consumption of Prairie State Hemp product, along with any that you can bring your own, is encouraged. So this is a cannabis-friendly event. You can either bring your own stuff or they will have some Prairie State Hemp product available there. It's located at 460 East Washington Street in downtown Springfield. The website says Prairie State Hemp is a hemp farm and cannabis supplier located in Springfield. Close group of friends and family who combine our skill sets and passion to bring you the highest quality hemp products. Tickets are available for purchase, but filling up fast. You can find them at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. And Tree Huggers connects cannabis communities. Brenda Lee Beltran loves enjoying life, that's a quote, and wants to make a difference in the cannabis community and beyond. As such, Beltran founded Tree Huggers to not only help break the stigma around cannabis use, love that, and educate users around responsible consumption, but also to help build a community of individuals and resources for those who want to improve their lives. To make a difference, Tree Huggers has included a fundraiser fundraiser for the Arbor Day Foundation. They're going to help kick off its first event. Beltran gives a description of the event as an opportunity for individuals of all backgrounds and lists some examples as plant medicine, holistic healing, catering, art, music, etc., to come together and share their own business with the community, all while collecting funds for the Arbor Day Foundation. Tree huggers also, they say they believe in enjoying life, which is where Tree Huggers After Dark was born. The first Tree Huggers After Dark event is scheduled for September 17th, also a Saturday, and is scheduled to run from 7 o'clock to 11 p.m. You can find more information by contacting Beltran by email at treehuggersshy, C-H-I, at gmail.com, or they're on Instagram at tree.huggerschicago. You can also find more information about Tree Huggers and apply for membership, as well as finding out more about all these events and more of the news you need to know about cannabis in Illinois, all at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. And before we jump into the interview, listener, I wanted to get into the strain of the week. That's right, this is the strain that has been fueling my week. As I've mentioned to you before, listener, nothing I love more than starting my days with cannabis and coffee. And this morning, the cannabis that I'm hitting is Slurricrasher. The flower is from Sunnyside. It is a Cresco Labs product. If you haven't tried Slurricrasher, this is one that I highly recommend. The strain is a happy blend, they say, of slurry cane and wedding crasher. The taste is sort of a lingering sweet grape and berry, those notes you can get on the inhale, and Sunnyside.com describes the exhale as sort of tasting a crisp, lemony gas. After you do hit this, a few minutes in, you'll notice an initial rush of sativa, kind of that uplifting, productive kind of motivation that you feel in your head a little bit, followed by some mellow euphoria. So this is not a full-on active sativa necessarily. You do get some of that mellow euphoria, but I do love Slurricrasher. I've really been enjoying this. This particular batch of the strain is listed at about 25% THC. Some of the terpenes that Sunnyside lists for it are caryophyllene, limonene, and linalool. I haven't read that one before, but I love Slurricrasher. When I inhale, I get a bit of a taste of sort of Fruity Pebbles. If you remember those from back in the day, or maybe you're snacking on some of those right now, but Fruity Pebbles was always kind of a distinct taste for me. You get that mixed fruity sweetness on the inhale, and I'm reminded of that when I inhale Slurricrasher, which, as I mentioned, I picked up this batch from my Wrigleyville Sunnyside location, and I recommend Slurricrasher a lot. It is something that I've been enjoying through this past summer and the summer beforehand. It's not always around Slurricrasher. It's one of those refresh strains. It's rotated seasonally, and Sunnyside says that they, pick it at the peak of freshness and such. It is derived from a hybrid of sativa and indica strains. So they officially label this as a hybrid, and they even go as far as to kind of, in some spots, they label this as indica heavy. I don't really feel that. Again, as you know, listener, I'm a more sativa guy. I prefer to kind of smoke and get things done, or I like to smoke in the morning to kind of start my day, and then maybe a little after lunch to kind of give myself another boost. Sativas are really more helpful for me to accomplish those things. Indica, I am affected in such a way where it sort of glues me to the couch, sort of brings me down a little bit, which is relaxing and can be nice for night times, or, there's places for indica as well. But just my personal taste, I enjoy sativas, and even though Slurricrasher is labeled in some spots as an indica, that is not the vibe that I get from smoking it. This definitely is a true hybrid. You get sativa and indica notes here, and me personally, I'm picking up more of the sativa. Plus, as I said, that fruity pebble kind of taste and the lemony gas on the exhale. Only a few minutes to kind of feel the benefits of this. In addition to that, I normally smoke bowls in the morning. I usually just pack a little glass bowl next to my coffee mug, and I'll just kind of regularly hit from that. But this week, I decided instead to make use of some of the products that my guest, Miss Mary Puffins, who you'll hear from in just a moment, pre-rolled cones. I'm currently, I packed up a Happy Faces cone this morning. I'm going to share a picture of it on the show social media pages, and you can kind of see what I'm working with here. But I have to say, I've been using these Mary Puffins cones for the last week or so, and I really can't say enough good things about these. They burn smoothly. There is no taste of them. And I've been really digging on these Happy Faces. She has a lot of options. Her pre-rolled cones they're white paper. Some of them are colored, but they have little designs. They have little figures on them. And it just kind of jazzes up a joint. I mean, I was at a party on Saturday night. I had brought a few of them with me. And when I was passing around one that you'll see, it has some mushrooms on it. It's just a regular white paper with some red mushroom caps all along. And the reactions from people who were just grabbing it to smoke it, even if it was nonverbal, there was definitely, their eyes got a little wider. They gestured to the joint, kind of gave a nod. And some people did remark about, hey, where'd you get these? That's a really cool looking joint there. And Miss Mary Puffins has a line that she uses, life's too short to smoke boring. And I love the tagline, and I believe that her products really do follow through. I personally have always kind of struggled with rolling joints myself. I've always had friends or people around me who were much better at doing it than I have been. So there was usually somebody who could create blunts or joints for us to smoke. But ever since kind of just doing it on my own, I never really roll them up because I'm just not good at it. And the product that comes out, the end result of a joint that I roll, is this Frankenstein-looking thing that doesn't really burn well at all. And, it's functional, but barely. And so for me, these pre-rolled cones, where they already have the kind of filter at the bottom, the paper is already attached to it, and the cone is just there. So all I have to do is grind up some weed, pour it into the cone, fill it up however I want it to be. If you want to fill it all the way to the top, you can. I usually fill it about 3/4 or maybe 4/5 of the way, and then I kind of twist the end so it's like sort of a proper joint. They burn smoothly. They burn evenly. There is no canoeing. There is no burning half of this as it goes. It all goes nice and smooth and even. There is no taste of the papers. All I'm getting is sort of a very clear taste of the cannabis that's inside this pre-roll. So for me this week, using Miss Mary Puffins pre-rolled cones along with my Slurricrasher, this has been very tasty. And I highly recommend this to you. Go ahead, go to Miss Mary Puffins' website. You can just use your favorite search engine to get there. You can go on her Instagram page. She has links there. These papers are something that I'm going to be making use of for a long, long time. They look cool, they smoke cool, and it's very smooth, and it just kind of adds a little interesting wrinkle to smoking your joint, to an activity that we do regularly. This is a small way to kind of jazz that up. So well done, Miss Mary Puffins, and check out Slurricrasher from your local Sunnyside or wherever you get Cresco Labs cannabis. This Slurricrasher flower is definitely something I recommend. Let's get into it. Oh yeah, we are hotboxing the closet today. All right, now we're rolling. Listener, my next guest is a cannabis entrepreneur. She has started a business where she is selling pre-rolled, printed, and colored cones for all your joint smoking needs. They are colorful, they are lovely, and she is here to talk kind of about how she got started and what products she offers. Listener, please welcome Miss Mary Puffins. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Don. Thank you for having me the opportunity this morning to talk to you and anyone that wants to listen and enjoy something fun, because life's too short to smoke boring.
Yeah,
And
I love that. I love that that tagline. I see that on your website. I see it on the Instagram page. I was curious. I mean, Mary Puffins. I assume that's not the real name, but is it okay that I addressed you that way? I should have checked before I kind of started recording, honestly. But
no, absolutely. My name is Mary.
Okay.
And I've been a smoker since I was a teenager. So it's actually been kind of like kind of an alias that I've always dreamt of having. And if I could ever have a product line, I would call it Mary Puffins. So it kind of manifested itself over the years through conversations with friends in multiple states. Like I've had this conversation with friends for years about it. It literally just manifested. It truly did.
That's very cool. Well, then this has to be very exciting for you. What? So you said you started early with cannabis. What sort of drew you? What drew you to it?
Well, what happened was I've always been, an avid smoker, and I feel like I could have built a little small house, a tiny house out of, packs of plain white rolling papers that I've used over the years and decades, I could say.
Right.
However, over the past couple of years, I've switched to, using cones. But let's back up to 2 years ago. COVID happened. I got divorced. Two good things that caused transition and midlife for myself to happen. I moved out of Los Angeles that I had been in for 10 years. People said if you could survive 2 years in LA, you could handle it. I did 10 hard.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I did house calls. I was a hairdresser for the industry.
Oh, cool.
So I did private clients and I did hair for, TV and film and stuff. And so I drove all over LA. So I left LA and my boyfriend was growing marijuana in the top of the Emerald Triangle.
Okay.
Up in Coffee Creek, a little tiny town, really hidden. If you've ever seen the movie The Untouchables, Joe Pesci and Al Pacino at the end, they're talking and they said, you know what? We'll always have Coffee Creek. Kind of like their little secret hideaway.
Nice.
Well, that's where I was.
Wow.
The town literally had like 150 residents. And it is literally the most epic place that looks like you're living in a Bob Ross painting.
That sounds so peaceful.
It is so peaceful and so beautiful, except the locals are butt-ass crazy.
Where is Coffee Creek? I'm guessing, is this Pacific Northwest? Is this like Washington?
It is extremely northwest. It's extremely north. Well, it's very, very center north of California. It is almost the last county before you get to Oregon.
Gotcha. Okay. I can picture it.
It's 80 miles from Mount Shasta and about 2 hours from the coast.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're located in the middle of the forest, but the fires drew us out. The farm was destroyed 2 years ago.
Oh, man.
And my boyfriend passed away.
Oh.
So those two things propelled me from not growing again and creating something that had been spoken of. It just kind of seemed like paying attention to life and patterns and things. Like if my boyfriend had actually been here, Mary Puffins wouldn't have existed. It was something him and I had talked about. We would be still growing and probably would have 2,000 plants this year. I mean, it'd be even bigger. And it's just crazy how life happens. But he was a marketing guy before this, and we were both in the beauty industry, and that's how we met back in 2005. And this was something that him and I had sat and talked about at great lengths. And it's just amazing that it actually, is starting to happen.
It is.
It's exciting, but it's exciting. And then people are also either they're just like grabbing it at full force, or people are just like, oh, I don't think my customers are, that fancy. I'm like, you don't need to speak for your clients like that, because trust me, they are. People are bougie.
Right, totally. Well, I mean, that is a lot of transitional upheaval, kind of a lot of change for you in over a couple of years. And so, I mean, it is. I'm happy for you that this is seeming to take off the way that it is, and it's exciting that this has kind of been a goal of yours, or at least sort of like a quiet ambition for a long time, and now it's starting to be realized. So let's talk a little about some of the products here. I'm looking at your website right now, which is Miss Mary Puffins with 2Fs.com. And there's a lot of some of the product. There's great pictures on here. I know that you've got your Instagram page as well. Yeah, I'm looking right now specifically at the smiley faces, which is something that I really enjoy. But how did you get started sort of thinking to design joint papers? How did that come about?
So I tried to, so there actually is another company out there. Their papers, I'm not going to say who they are, but their papers they're bleached because they're really, really bright, and they're not as durable.
Gotcha.
My papers are unbleached. You can ball them up into a little tiny ball and straighten them back out, and nothing happens to them.
Wow.
Because they're real pliable. They're unbleached. So I found a company that manufactures different printed papers. That's what they do. And they private label. So I private sourced a company out, and this is what they have. And we already have designs geared up for the holidays. There's some that are, cute that say fa la 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 la, and snowflakes and snowmen and stuff like that. So I'm excited for holiday ones, and, it's fun just finding a company that, can do this. And with my brain trying to figure out e-commerce and hooking it up with Shopify and building all of that at my age, it kind of almost melted my brain a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It's
a lot.
Easy it's a lot.
Yeah, honestly, it'd be overwhelming for anybody, I think. I think that it's just, there's technology does make things easier, but there's just a lot of steps, and there's a lot of different services you have to interconnect, and it's just a lot. So good on you,
The area that I was in was located, the next county over was Humboldt County, and then Mendocino. So you can understand, I was in Trinity County, so it's the Emerald Triangle is what it's known as, and that's the Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity County is the Emerald Triangle.
Okay. I'm not really familiar with it. Is there a reason that they call it that?
It's the Emerald Triangle. It is the best area in the country, if not world, to grow marijuana.
Oh, man. Well, that's
the top of the Emerald Triangle.
Man, that's really good to know.
Known that. Yeah. So that's why they always say, oh, the killer Cali weed, it comes from that's the place.
Got it.
It's the most unbelievable. Anyway.
Right on.
So that's where I came from. So the reason why I'm saying that is I spent quite a few years up there with growers and developers of products who were very, very picky and particular about their smoke, things being pure, everything. I learned to switch to all organic papers, things like, they're like that, real purists.
Yeah.
So my papers were approved.
Nice.
My friends all up there, all approved, love them. Everybody's happy. It's all plant source dye, vegan friendly. So I got a lot of love from Humboldt County and NorCal approval. So I feel like if I can get a stamp of approval from them in the country, everybody else should be happy with them as well.
I would agree. You got the Emerald Triangle green light for your product. I see.
That's kind of how I feel. I started out with the hardest of the bunch, and I should be easy to go from there.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. You wanna market it to the toughest crowd first, and then now you're like, well, great, now it's battle tested, and that's that's an important thing. I have to say, I think especially as I record this here in Illinois, it's a legal state, and so since the dispensary dispensaries have been up and operating, I think one of the things that people are talking about a lot now is the difference in quality of products, and pre-rolls are a great thing that are out there, or just, going to pick up your flower and rolling it up yourself. But there's so much, there's a wide spectrum of quality in how you experience that smoke, whether it's a pre-roll or you roll it up yourself, depending on those papers. And things like canoeing, like burning kind of halfway down one side of the joint, leaving the other one untouched. Those, after a while, it starts to become an annoyance, a frustration, and it's...
Yeah, you want to make sure you pack it in properly yourself. Do that for sure. And, sometimes, maybe you want to put some dab in there or something.
Right.
Put some little drops or something, or some shatter.
Yeah.
I like some little shatter broken up in there sometimes. Or I have beautiful cones, and sometimes I'll take my cones and I roll them in melted dab, and then I actually roll them in real rose petals, real lavender, real dandelions, and then I take it, because it's still sticky, and I roll it really hard in keef on the outside.
Wow.
So it's almost like a Thai stick, but it's herbal also. It's beautiful. I've got a photo on one of my pages. I'll send it to you. It's beautiful.
Please do. That sounds unbelievable. And
yeah, it's like triple flowers, and they're gorgeous. So I do those for myself and my friends, and that's something to do with them as well. And you want to elevate and level up your cones, do that with a colored one as a beautiful gift for someone, or printed. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea. I can think of many people who would see the appeal of something like that, would really appreciate that kind of gift. I mean,
oh yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, I've never offered that up as a service, because I don't, I'm only selling my cones.
Yeah, for sure. And that was kind of segueing into what I was going to ask, really. I mean, where do you, when you look to the future, where do you see sort of Miss Mary Puffins 5 years from now? Like, if things are going well,
Well, I would really like to be in a lot of the franchises. Like right now, I'm in High Times in Shasta Lake in California. I connected with them, and I connected with the Redding location. They're a franchise, so they're national, but each one is owned individually. So, but they communicate, throughout the corporate with each other.
Right.
And since I just moved here, I realized a lot of the locations, the smoke shops and things, are corporate owned as well. So I would really like to be able to be in a lot of the corporate owned smoke shops throughout the country. Whether it's something like High Times, or Cookies, like some of the dispensaries.
Sure.
Whether they're private owned. I've connected with some wellness centers, whether it's in Maryland. I've got a lady in Washington who has a cannabis Airbnb, and she has dinners that she does cannabis cooking, and she offers it to her guests, and leaving them, the cones, as gifts and stuff like.
Yeah.
That I would love to be specialized and featured like an Airbnb, just become like a regular brand,
right.
Just a household brand, because cannabis needs to be mainstream.
Absolutely.
It doesn't need to have a stigmatism to it. I mean, my mom has had so many medical problems, and they've taken pain pills from her, and thank gosh that I've got strong enough medicine that I can allow her to be able to get herself to relax in the evening with just a couple of hits in the evening, and she's out comfortable and sleeps without pain. Without that, she's, dependent, and they won't give her anything anymore.
Right.
So no, I'm thankful, and they need to realize that it's really actually a medicine, and a lot of people really do need it.
Yeah, well said. And I'm stories like the one you just told about, your mom and her quality of life. I mean, there's so many of those, I think, all around the country, all around the world, because this plant that is it works with our endocannabinoid systems in our brains. We've evolved with it. And, there's a whole host of reasons why it's been prohibited, why it's been persecuted the way that that it has. And I've talked about it on the show before. It's horrible. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this too is because I want to try and spread messages like this and talk to people who are doing research and people who are creating new products like you are, as well as these industries go forward, but also to reinforce the message that this is something that can improve quality of life for everybody. I mean, people who've experienced it. And I mean, I'm not saying that, I understand that some people, it isn't maybe their cup of tea, but for the many, many of us who it is the chosen way that we either relax or deal with stress or deal with pain. I mean, a whole host of unpleasant issues that come with living. Cannabis can do so much to alleviate that stuff.
Well, if it's not their cup of tea, I bet you it's their brownie.
Yeah, indeed. So I guess I wanted to just kind of wrap up by just mentioning that people can go to your website and they can purchase some of your products there right now, right?
And I have, yes, and I've also offered, because I'm having trouble myself with trying to offer free shipping. What I am offering is buy 2 packs, get 1 free.
Nice.
So anybody that orders, no matter how many how many times you order 2, you get 1 free. So if you want to order 4, you get 2. So yeah, and it automatically happens on the site. So I haven't had any glitches with that so far. But yeah,
nice.
And I appreciate everybody's support, and I would love anybody who does order them to send me photos of where you're at smoking Mary Puffins and enjoying them or sharing them. So, because I'd love to share those photos on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking myself, I mean, like there's, the major dispensaries here in Illinois, like Sunnyside, where I go regularly, or Rise, one of those. Whenever I go over there, I'll definitely mention to them your products and everything, because I would love to see them there.
I would love that. I just moved into the area. I just moved to Indiana. Thursday will be 4 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm new to the area.
Welcome.
So I have yet to, thank you. I'm in illegal Indiana, not yet ventured into legal Illinois,
right,
which I heard I need to. So yes, I'm looking very forward to spending a couple of days a week driving over the state line and coming to the dispensaries and all of that. So when I do that, I would love to, meet up with you, and we can have a tea, a coffee, smoke out, and you can point me in the right direction of some great spots.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Sign me up. I'm definitely game for that.
Awesome, Don.
Well, again, Miss Mary Puffins of the Mary Puffins company. Is that the official, just Mary
Puffins.
You got it.
It's Mary Puffins or Miss Mary Puffins, either one. You can find me either way.
So you can go to the website, missmarypuffins.com, or on Instagram, I believe it's at Miss Mary Puffins. And you can check out some of these products and order 2 of them, get 1 free, and check it out. They look like they would liven up any smoke sesh, and I can't wait to try them out. Mary, I'd like to end this. I usually do by doing these quick hits, just like 5 yes or no kind of questions. You don't have to think too deeply about them. Are you game?
Let's go.
All right. First quick hit: morning bird or night owl? Which are you?
Morning bird.
All right, morning bird. Favorite cuisine, special meal, if it's your birthday or a special occasion, any
sushi.
Kind of sushi?
Yes, sushi.
Right. Any specific kind? Like, are you yellowtail? Are you a tuna? What's your?
I like a spicy tuna, crab, shrimp, soy paper.
Nice. Yeah. That is always such a classic. Number 3, drug of choice, meaning your daily kind of go-to. And I know I can think I might be able to guess, but are you coffee in the morning, wine? What's your go-to?
I'm actually a tea. I'm a Earl Grey lavender vegan creamer maple syrup sweetener girl. That's my morning toxic drink right there.
That sounds really good.
It actually is. It's really, I change and turn so many people once they taste it. They're just like, what is that? Yeah. And it's fresh lavender, 2 sprigs. Put it in with my tea bag, steep it, and there we go.
Wow. Maple syrup sweetener, did you say?
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who convinced me to get off of creamer and sugar to get rid of my asthma. And I didn't realize that sugar and dairy were the leading causes of asthma.
Man.
And I have not had to use my rescue inhalers or daily inhalers in months because I don't consume dairy or sugar.
Wow.
I used to be that person who would chow through like sweet tarts, like,
sure.
like at night, or Sour Patch Kids. I loved my hot tamales. No more, because it flared up and I'd wake up in the middle of the night wheezing, or I'd have to use my inhaler just to smoke. Now I smoke, and never cough, never feel tight, never use my inhaler, nothing.
Well,
dairy and sugar.
That's good for you. That's amazing. And I'm gonna try that Earl Grey, and I'm gonna look for maple syrup sweetener because that sounds like I put that on a lot of things, actually.
Yeah, it's just maple syrup, just pure maple syrup, and yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's okay. So it's not like a special product. I just have to go get some pure maple syrup.
Pure maple syrup.
Oh man, yeah, that is good.
I buy the big jug.
Yeah,
that's what I use.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that is really good stuff.
Okay, so go ahead. 2 more.
Favorite movie or TV show?
Grease.
Grease?
Hands down. Grease has been my favorite movie of all time my whole life. I can recite the movie from beginning to end to the point where you will not want to watch the movie with me. Yeah.
I don't know. Me and my siblings, we actually, unfortunately, we're recording this now on August 9th, and yesterday, Olivia Newton-John, it was announced that she had passed away. It's so incredibly sad. And my family, me and my siblings, we all watched Grease on repeat growing up, and so it's just been a whole train of gifs and quotes and song stuff from Grease, and I'm glad you said that because that movie really is a classic. I'm gonna go rewatch that soon.
It is.
And final quick hit here. A sports team. Do you watch any sports teams? Are you into that?
I have been given the gift of being a Raiders fan.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a Raiders fan.
Yeah. All right. Right on. Well, I was speaking with somebody recently. They mentioned that the Raiders hired, I think, the first black female president of operations there. So they're
smart.
Yeah, they're definitely doing some good things, and they got a really nice new stadium too, which I think the Super Bowl might be coming up too. So,
okay, Don, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, and I appreciate you.
Of course, thanks again for jumping on here, and we'll meet up sometime in the future. We'll have a smoke.
Absolutely, we absolutely certainly will. I've got some GMO I'd love to bring and smoke with you. So
great.
I will hope to see you soon.
Okay, great. Well, you have a great day, and we'll talk again.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Don. Okay. Bye-bye.
And there you are. Just want to thank my guest one more time, Miss Mary Puffins. And you can find all of her products on her website and look at them on her Instagram page, Miss Mary Puffins with 2 Fs.com. And before I let you go this week, listener, I just want to roll out one quick edition of... No.
The Marijuanalogues.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's the Marijuanalogues, not the rim shot. Anyway, but I have one thing. A story came across my feed, and I've been hearing rumblings about this for months now, and I was really hoping that it would start to trend the other way. Cannabis, as we all know, the approval ratings for it are astronomically high. In politics, if you get anything over 50%, you're doing something right. There's about 70% of America that believes that cannabis should be fully legal, maybe more so. I mean, it depends on which poll you're looking at. But the fact is, the majority of Americans believe that cannabis should be federally decriminalized at the very least. And there's an article that is just out from earlier this year, actually. It came out in June of 2022, and this is from LA Weekly. I'm reading this from laweekly.com. And so admittedly, we're sitting here almost 2 months away from this, but, it hasn't gotten any better, and that's why I'm bringing this up. The headline reads, Federal cannabis arrests jump 25% under Biden. 25%. Now, This article's written by Jimmy Devine, Jimidevine, and it starts, I won't read the whole thing, but after a dip during the peak of the pandemic in 2020, federal law enforcement agents and their partners arrested 25% more people for cannabis-related crimes in 2021 during the first year of the Biden administration. Now, they note here, while a post-pandemic bump in arrests would have been fair to expect, obviously, because fewer people are out in public violating laws having to do with cannabis or anything else. So, as they say, it would make sense to expect more arrests related to cannabis in 2021 after people are out, allowed to socialize again post-pandemic. But the biggest jump in cannabis arrests in a decade, that was not expected. The nation's oldest cannabis reform organization, NORML, noted the 6,606 marijuana-related arrests last year represented the most since the 8,500 arrests in 2011. Now, what's even more annoying about this, not just annoying, what is infuriating about this is that Biden promised in February of last year, of 2021, that he would pursue decriminalization and mass expungements for people with prior cannabis convictions. And as Jimmy Devine notes here in this LAweekly.com article that I'm reading from, a month after that promise, word got out that some staff may have been a bit too honest with Joe about their past marijuana use. Dozens of young White House staffers were asked to resign. So the hopes of cannabis policy reformers were squashed quickly. That is what is so infuriating about this. One of the campaign promises of Joe Biden was that he would pursue decriminalization and mass expungements. We all know that obviously has not happened yet. Little bits of expungements have happened, federally and certainly at different state levels, but there has been no mass expungement. And now word from 2 months ago that federal cannabis arrests are up 25% and the most in a decade, all while the attitude toward cannabis is getting more and more positive, more and more accepted. It is becoming normalized. But this is exactly what I have spoken about with some guests in the past. You may remember the episode with Mike Fouché, listener of Grown In, the newsletter. And he worked in the Clinton administration as an Energy Department staffer. He spent time face-to-face with Joe Biden when he was a senator. He's very familiar with Biden as a person, as a politician, and with his base, the very conservative suburban types outside of, let's say, a Pittsburgh or in the Delaware area where Biden is from. And Fouché made the point that Biden's a guy that follows the rules, that he's a stickler for policy. So when we were talking about the prospect of federal legalization, Fouché was kind of bringing up the possibility that Joe isn't anti-cannabis, but that he's really just kind of a stickler for the rules. Well, since that discussion, I've kind of thought of two reasons why I don't really buy that. One of them being Biden's president now, so he makes the rules, right? I mean, I know that you have to get any laws passed through Congress, but we know that there is Republican support for cannabis decriminalization at the very least, if you're not talking about legalization fully. We know that there is support, bipartisan support for decriminalization. So if Biden floated that, there's the expectation that would make it to his desk for him to sign, thus changing the rules, which you could now abide by. The other part of it is, and this has been kind of leaking in ways from certain White House staffers, nobody that was comfortable being identified. Obviously, they want to keep their jobs. But what I've been hearing for a couple of months now is that basically the issue of cannabis and drugs is a personal one for the president. We all know that one of his sons struggled with drug use in the past, maybe still does, I really don't know. But we know that addiction has presented itself to Joe Biden's family. That's just something that he's had to deal with in a personal way. I think it's clear, we're sitting now halfway through 2022, midterm elections are a few months away. We're sitting here now and looking at articles just like this LA Weekly one, 25% bump in arrests with federal cannabis. Not only are we not moving toward the campaign promises that Biden issued in February of last year, no less, so less than 2 years ago, Not only are we not moving toward those, we are actively moving away from them, I would argue. It feels to me like we're backsliding into the sort of mid-1900s war on drugs, reefer madness kind of things. And that is because I believe, and this belief has been supported by whispers out of White House staff, that this is a personal issue for the president, which is why we haven't seen or heard a lot out of the Biden administration about federal cannabis decriminalization. We've heard it from senators. We've heard it from House members. We've seen it trickle out of different states. Some states are just, doing it themselves. But again, we've talked about it on the show before. The federal prohibition of cannabis is still affecting all the states and all the businesses in a very negative way. The Safe Banking Act, at the very least, has to pass, because you're forcing all these people to sort of engage in criminal activity almost, because the federal government does not allow for these things. Yet slowly, state by state, more and more state-run markets, state governments are opening the doors for these things. And the longer and longer that the federal government delays in addressing this, in taking their own action, in abiding by the campaign promises of the man in charge to pursue decriminalization and mass expungements for people with prior cannabis convictions, that has to happen. Unfortunately, it really feels to me that as much as the enthusiasm is there stateside, as much as these businesses are coming out, research is being done, and more encouraging information about cannabis is coming out week by week, and more states are generating new revenue because of all the businesses and all of the purchases that are happening related to cannabis all across the country. And we all still have to stare in the face of this hypocrisy that what we're all doing right now, there are people sitting in jail cells for doing the exact same thing, but now it's okay. All of that is just sort of this weight, this anchor on the launch of cannabis in America, on the sort of exciting repeal of the prohibition, which, as we've said, never should have been leveled against cannabis in the first place. I wanted to share this with you, listener, because I just can't help but feel like 25% bump in federal arrests related to cannabis. That is not, in my mind, that's not just sort of par for the course political backtalk. To me, that's a betrayal. And you could have a long conversation about the 2 years that Biden's been in office so far. And I'm not passing judgment on his term as a president at all. And listener, I'm not here doing a political podcast. I don't really want to talk too much about that. But this here is an overlap between our administration that's in power right now, the opinion of the American people, the opinion held by most of the American people, widely popular opinion, being ignored at best and actively thwarted at worst by the ruling administration. And I just kind of worry that, as I said, this is a personal issue with the president. Those campaign promises, you can look back at his speeches, you can hear or read his quotes about what he said he would listen to do, and I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to feel like that's not going to happen until somebody else is in charge. Unfortunately, even safe banking, even decriminalization. Personally, I think, we're at this point right now. This is August of 2022. Joe Biden has not announced whether he intends to run again for a second term at this point. We know that there are a few options in terms of the Democrat Party for others who may do it. J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, is one of those. And if J.B. Pritzker decides to make cannabis a center of his campaign to become the president, I gotta say he would have my vote. Because that alone, that one issue, and of course there are many, but that one issue, cannabis, decriminalizing, safe banking, straight up legalizing so that people don't have to continually dodge these federal regulations and people aren't still getting picked up by federal police at a 25% bump, the most in a decade. We won't have to deal with that. And we won't have to deal with this sort of guilt or facing another American hypocrisy of going through our day-to-day lives, smoking in states like Illinois where it's legal, and knowing that jails are full of people who did the exact same thing and they're not free. That is something that needs to change now. And it's feeling to me like the guy in charge is not going to be the one to do it. So whatever else you feel about and whatever else he may have done that's been really good, I'm arguing that now we need to get somebody else in who is going to really do what Biden said he would do: pursue mass decriminalization and expungements for people with prior convictions and throw open the doors already. Let's get the Safe Banking Act passed at the very least. Let's decriminalize this thing. Let's freaking legalize it. And all the new revenue that states themselves have been noticing, the federal government can get in on that party as well. But that being said, we are still a long way from where we were even 10 years ago. As you've heard me speak with some of my guests about, it is amazing that you can go to dispensaries and pick up a product that you're expecting and that you know you enjoy. Most often they'll have it and you can just be in and out of there just like a liquor store. It's not perfect. It's not exactly where we'd like it, and it's not sort of, it's not like the stigma has disappeared, but we are making improvements. And even though, as I just said, we're not where we want to be and we've got a long way to go, it's always good to take stock of where we've been and where we are now and celebrate those little victories at the very least. So that's going to do it for me this week, listener. I will be back again next week with another interview and more cannabis headlines and events around Illinois and elsewhere on the Cannabis Man podcast. Bye-bye. Cannabis Man is an original production of myself, Don Kleppen. Original theme music by Yusu Kim, a.k.a. Goodson. Other music by Pat Perez, and logo designed by Vorbroker Media. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe, and share whenever you can.